Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Origins, She-Ra, Princess of Power. That is right, my friends. This is our very first She-Ra Princess of Power action figure to come in the Origins lineup, which is very good news for anybody who is a fan of any of the characters from the Princess of Power lineup, because this does seem to be introducing the possibility of seeing more She-Ra characters in the Origins line. Very, very exciting stuff. Of course, we saw that with the Masters of the Universe Classics line, where we got integration between all the various former Masters of the Universe and Princess of Power toy lines in one line, so it is certainly not out of the question that we could be seeing the same thing in the future with Origins, but we are at the very least getting She-Ra here. Now, maybe you're watching this and you're saying, but Pixel Dan, didn't you already review the Origins She-Ra? Well, my friends, this one is different. What I'm bringing in right now is the recent PowerCon exclusive version of Origins She-Ra. The one over here on the right is the retail version, and they do differ from one another, specifically with the heads and the packaging. So the retail version is going to come in the standard Masters of the Universe packaging, whereas the one from PowerCon came in the very vintage-inspired Princess of Power packaging. So they do look very different standing side by side. I wanted to show both of those off there. Of course, the back of the packaging on the retail release features some incredibly cool artwork, because look at this, man. We've got the Whispering Woods, which also is inspired by the never-released Whispering Woods playsets. We've got like the Light Hope statue here, or at least what we think was going to be Light Hope on that playset. Very different from Filmation, of course. But you know, they're really going with a toy-inspired motif. Liu Qi is hiding in the background. Hordak and the Horde, and oh my goodness, Mosquitor is on this artwork. Guys, this might be the best box art we've seen yet, because Mosquitor is amazing. And then down below that, we've got our cross-sell, and hey, it even shows you how you can reverse She-Ra's mask on her head, just like on the vintage She-Ra toy. So really, really cool stuff. So let's go ahead and get this open, because I really want to focus on comparing this to the PowerCon version that I already took a look at. Okay, so first of all, it is worth mentioning that She-Ra does come with the same mini-comic that comes with all of the Wave 3 figures. Again, features some awesome artwork, features all of the characters from this particular wave. It is worth noting that since mine is the international release, there are no word bubbles in this, so the US releases will actually have words to follow along with the comic, but otherwise the artwork and everything is exactly the same. Okay, so we've got our She-Ra outside of the packaging, and just real quick, I'll bring in the tape measure so you can see the figure stands about 5.5 inches tall, so she's right at 5.5, fits right in with the other females in the Origins line, as she does mostly utilize the body already seen on Teela and Evil Lyn. You can see it with the arms there, same arm bracers. But the one thing I really want to do in this video is I want to compare her to that PowerCon version, since we've already taken a look at her, just because we're really just looking at what makes this retail release different from the PowerCon convention exclusive version that we already took a look at. And it turns out, not really that much. So, of course, She-Ra here does come with two accessories in the form of her sword and her shield. So the Sword of Protection is a unique look. It's not exactly the same as the one that comes with He-Man. Does have the little blue gem in there, which is just painted with sort of like a metallic blue paint. And it's molded in a gold, like a yellowish gold plastic. And the same with the shield. The shield's got a little handle on the back, so it fits in her hand, which, as I mentioned in the other She-Ra video, does differ from vintage She-Ra, because instead of clipping on her wrist, she actually has to hold it, which means that the shield is sideways, and that's something that does bother me a little bit, but I already mentioned that before as well. Otherwise, almost everything else about this figure seems to be exactly the same. The only difference seems to be with that head sculpt, because the version that we got with PowerCon had the rooted hair, just like the vintage figure, and also had kind of like a doll head because of the rooted hair. So this one is a hard plastic head with fully sculpted hair. And you can see that the hair is bright yellow. It's just molded in the yellow plastic there. It's slightly pliable, actually quite a bit. You can see it kind of bends and everything there. So it doesn't really hinder the articulation too much. You can see it's still going to run into her shoulders, but at least you can kind of bend it up a little bit there, and you can still get her to look up and down. Of course, she's also got a completely different face than what we saw on that PowerCon version because it's a fully sculpted, hard plastic head. So it's totally different. I can't really say that I like this one any better. It doesn't look bad per se, but I'm again running into that thing where, like, I don't know, does it look like She-Ra? It's definitely like a new interpretation, I guess. Same kind of feelings I have about the He-Man and Origins line, I definitely have about She-Ra here. So I think enough can be said about that head. Let's just go ahead and do our comparison time, because that's really what this video needs to all be about. If I bring in both She-Ra action figures and stand them side by side, we can really get a look at those two head sculpts there to see how they are completely different. So they do both have that exact same little mask tiara combo. You can see you can clip it on her head so that it looks like a tiara. You can also flip it upside down so that it looks like a mask covering her eyes, which is what She-Ra was supposed to look like as She-Ra in that vintage toy line. So you've got the option to display her both ways. It's the exact same thing for both figures. It does even appear to be molded in the same color plastic. So it fits over the sculpted hair just fine. It clips on there. I'm not having any problems with it being loose or falling off, so it looks fine. We'll go ahead and remove that from both there so that you can really get a close look at the two head sculpts to see how different they are. And it, you know, the eyes and the mouth are almost painted similar, but you can see it's a very different look to both faces. And of course, that rooted hair makes a huge difference. Honestly, this is probably going to come down to preference. Some people don't like the rooted hair, but others want the rooted hair because that's what the vintage She-Ra had. It's going to be totally up to you which version you like better. The colors and everything else about the figures does seem to be mostly the same. Like, there might be a subtle difference between those golds seen on the boots and the shields and the swords between figures, but if there is, it's not very much. I mean, they look basically identical. Originally, I thought that the PowerCon version was going to have much more of a deeper gold color on all of her parts to more match up with the vintage figure, and that turned out to not be the case. It seems to be about the same color as the retail version. Maybe a little bit darker, but like I said, it's not that noticeable. It is very, very similar. So she's got the same cloth cape, she's got the same skirt piece, so everything else about it does appear to be the same, aside from the head sculpt. And one other thing, the PowerCon version also came with the axe comb, and the retail version does not include this, so that is missing. Now, she doesn't have rooted hair, so that's probably why she doesn't come with the comb. It's an axe also, but it's an accessory that is totally missing from that retail release. So while we're on it, we should go ahead and talk about the fact that she does have the interchangeable parts, just like we saw with the other She-Ra. So you should be able to pull her arms out of socket. Oof, at the shoulders. Very tough there. But that's also how you can remove the cape accessory. It just has the little elastic bands that goes over that. Also, you can pop her off at the torso, like I just did there, very gracefully. But that allows you to remove both the belt and the little mesh skirt piece there. And let's see, let's go and pop this other arm out of socket. The other big question is the head removable on this? Yes, it is. So just like we've got with Teela and Evil Lyn, you can actually pop the head off of this one, which is something that we couldn't do on the rooted hair head that's on the PowerCon release. So this will allow you to mix and match parts between Teela and Evil Lyn and She-Ra if that's something you want to do. The parts don't really match up between the female and the male figures because the joints are a little bit smaller, but it is worth noting that the head is swappable on this figure. So I do want to go ahead and do some more comparisons here because alongside that PowerCon release that we've already taken a look at, I also want to show her standing alongside the vintage She-Ra action figure and the recent Super 7 version of She-Ra based on the Filmation series, just so you can see all four of these figures standing side by side, since they're all in that vintage scale, and styling. It's really interesting to see these 4 very different looking She-Ra action figures. And what's even crazier is that 3 of those have all been released within the last 2 years here. That's pretty bonkers, actually. And, we can stand her alongside the vintage Swiftwind just to kind of show you guys what that looks like. She poses with it well. She can sit on it just like the vintage figure could. So that's an option for you to display her with a vintage Swiftwind if that's something that you want to do. Now, will we be getting a Swiftwind in Origins or any more Princess of Power characters? I don't know. We haven't heard from Mattel, but it does sound like this She-Ra does open the doors to being introduced to more Princess of Power characters within the Origins lineup. So maybe we will get some more of those classic toys in this modern articulated style. Time will tell. So there you guys go, my friends. That is a look at the retail version of the Masters of the Universe Origins She-Ra action figure. If you haven't already, make sure you watch my other video about the PowerCon one. That'll probably go into more details about the overall design of the figure, but I really felt it was important to compare the two so that you could see the differences between them. The PowerCon release, of course, was much more expensive. It was much more limited. The retail version will presumably be a little easier to get a hold of, depending, of course, on Walmart and the mass distribution in 2021, so we'll see about that. But in theory, that one should be easier to get than the PowerCon one. So again, all going to come down to your personal preference on which one you like better. I have to give a shout out to my friend Thunder Punch He-Man over on Instagram because he allowed me to borrow this She-Ra figure so that I could do this comparison video. I'll link to his Instagram in the video description below. He posts lots of He-Man pictures, so if you're into that sort of thing, go check him out. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my friends.
The Toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is available for pre-order now. This official guidebook is published by Dark Horse Books and features over 750 pages of photos and information on your favorite He-Man and She-Ra action figures. And don't miss out on the exclusive bundle pack available for pre-order now from PowerCon. This bundle includes the official guide as well as an exclusive character guide supplement that you won't be able to buy anywhere else. Don't miss out. You have the power.